Hi, I'm Charles. I'm 42, and I began my college journey at 38, almost 20 years after high school. I had no degree, no career, and I believed I had waited too long to build either one. Since then, I've earned an associate degree and transferred into electrical engineering. But the hardest and most expensive part is still ahead. Can going back to school change the life I thought I wasted? Here's what my progress proves and what it doesn't. In high school, learning came naturally to me. I was near the top of my class. I had every reason to believe I could build something with that ability. But when high school ended, I did not feel urgency. I felt free. For the first time, nobody was telling me where to be, what to study, or what the next step was supposed to look like. I could work enough to pay my bills, stay out late, meet people, and decide tomorrow what I wanted tomorrow to be. At 18, that did not feel like failure. It felt like life had finally opened up. I did not think I was giving up on education or a serious future. I thought I was postponing them. Somewhere in the back of my mind, I treated academic ability like money left safely in an account. I assumed it would still be there whenever I decided to use it. But unused ability does not build a resume, finish a degree, or create experience. Potential can wait quietly for years, while the world keeps moving. I moved from job to job without building toward a profession. None of them had to be terrible for the pattern to be a problem. They paid enough for me to keep a roof over my head. I usually had a vehicle to drive. I could take care of the next bill and get through the next month. That small amount of stability protected me from consequences I could feel immediately. I was not homeless. I was not stranded. There was no single disaster that forced me to change. So I confused surviving with progressing. Each job solved the immediate problem in front of me, but the jobs did not connect into a larger direction. I could learn enough to handle the next shift and then move on when the work, schedule, or opportunity changed. I was capable of adapting, but I was not building a ladder where 1 year of effort created a better position the next year. Because I could manage the short term, I did not have to confront what the pattern was doing to the long term. As long as I could keep my life moving, I could tell myself I still had time to decide what the life was moving toward. Then, 18 became 25. The freedom was still there, but it had started to feel different. The same kind of work that once felt temporary was becoming my history. The future I assumed I would eventually build was still waiting for me to begin it. I could always explain why this was not the right month to make a major change. I needed money first. I needed a clearer plan. I needed to feel ready. But readiness kept moving farther away because I was doing nothing that would make me more ready. By 30, I could no longer pretend I was only taking a little time to figure things out. I looked at my life and saw no career, no specialized skills, and no family of my own. I had spent years protecting my freedom, but I had not used that freedom to choose a direction. At the same time, I watched people I knew keep moving. Their careers and lives were taking shape. Mine felt like it was repeating. That comparison did not motivate me. It made the distance feel impossible. Once I began measuring my first steps against other people's accumulated years, almost any beginning looked too small to matter. I was not comparing one decision with another decision. I was comparing my unfinished starting point with lives that had been under construction for years. I was already 30. If other people had spent the last decade building experience, how was I supposed to catch up? Where would I even begin? And what would it say about me if I tried and still could not do it? The shame of being behind became another reason to stay behind. The hardest part of that period was not that I did not understand the problem. I understood it. I just treated the years I had lost as evidence that the future was already decided. 1 year passed, and beginning felt later. Then another year passed, and beginning felt even less reasonable. Every birthday appeared to strengthen the argument that I had missed my chance. But the argument had a flaw. Waiting was not protecting me from being late. Waiting was making me later. At 38, I finally had to admit that I was not choosing between beginning late and beginning on time. Beginning on time was gone. My real choice was between beginning late and remaining exactly where I was. I didn't need to catch up to everyone else. I needed to stop standing still. So I enrolled. That sentence sounds simple now. It did not feel simple when I made the decision. Going back meant placing myself in a world where I would be a beginner again. It meant organizing my days around classes and study, instead of whatever freedom I could protect. It meant working part-time while attending school full-time. It meant relying primarily on student loans, without knowing exactly where the path would end. I did not have a spouse, children, or dependents in this story. That removed pressures many adult students carry. It did not remove the coursework, the cost, or the years of earnings I would delay. For the first time in a long time, the discomfort in my life came from moving towards something. I did not begin by asking anyone to believe that I would become an engineer. I began by seeing whether I could function as a serious student again. Could I show up? Could I organize my time? Could I continue when the work stopped feeling new and became routine? Each completed term gave me evidence that regret had never given me. I was no longer arguing with myself about whether I might have been capable years ago. I was doing the work in the present. There were still no guarantees. Progress in one part of college did not automatically settle what would happen in a demanding engineering program. But the question had changed. I was not asking whether I could start anymore. I was testing how far I could continue. I earned an associate degree. For someone else, that might look like one step in a familiar education path. For me, it was proof that the decision at 38 had produced an observable result. I had become the first person in my family to attend college. I had completed a credential. And I had created the opportunity to transfer to a state university. But this was not the ending. The associate degree proved that I could return. It did not prove that every credit would fit perfectly into a bachelor's program. It did not prove that I could complete electrical engineering. And it did not prove that an employer would hire me when the academic work was done. I transferred to a state university and began pursuing electrical engineering. That changed the scale of the challenge. The standards used to evaluate engineering programs show why this is not simply more of the same. A credible engineering education includes substantial college-level mathematics and science, engineering topics, broad education, and major design work. Transfer policies also belong to the receiving institution, which means an associate degree does not guarantee that every credit lands exactly where a student hopes it will. I am not naming my university, my remaining credits, my courses, or a graduation date. Those details are not part of the approved record. I also cannot claim that my unnamed program holds a particular accreditation. What I can say is that the path is underway, and the most demanding portion of it is not safely behind me. The academic question is only part of the test. I also have to live while I answer it. I work part-time and rely primarily on student loans, but my actual balance, tuition, grants, loan types, and interest rates are unknown. Assigning a precise debt number to me would turn an illustration into a false personal record. The general exposure is still real. For one current federal example, undergraduate direct loans, first dispersed during the 2026 to 2027 period, carry a fixed rate of 6.52%. At that rate, a purely illustrative $40,000 balance, repaid over 10 years, works out to about $455 a month, and roughly $14,552 in interest. That is not my debt and not a prediction of my payment. It is a way to see what borrowing can ask from the future I'm trying to build. Even completing the degree would not make the rest automatic. The Bureau of Labor Statistics identifies a bachelor's degree as the typical entry-level education for electrical and electronics engineers. It also notes that internships and cooperative programs can give students practical experience that employers value. I do not have an approved internship, co-op, project portfolio, employer, job offer, or starting salary in this story. Those are part of the evidence I still need to build. Federal law protects applicants and workers age 40 and older from age discrimination. But a legal protection cannot tell me how one employer will judge a 40-something graduate beginning at the bottom of a new field. It also cannot prove that I have experienced discrimination when I have not made that claim. So this is the second decision. Do I stop with a real accomplishment because the next stage carries more risk? Or do I continue, knowing I may graduate in my 40s, compete for entry-level work, and discover that the degree was necessary, but not sufficient? So, after 40, can I still go back to school? Yes. I can answer that part because I have evidence. I enrolled at 38, I attended full-time. I earned an associate degree. I became the first person in my family to attend college. I transferred to a state university, and at 42, I am continuing toward electrical engineering. Those results matter. They are not small simply because they are not the final result. But the honest answer has a second half. I have not completed the bachelor's degree. I have not begun an engineering career. I have not proved that the financial outcome will be comfortable, or that starting at the bottom will be easy. I cannot use progress as a substitute for an ending that has not happened. What changed most is not that I suddenly stopped regretting the years I lost. I still know what those years cost. Beginning later has consequences. My education overlaps with years when many people are established in their careers. My present income is limited. Borrowing pushes part of today's decision into tomorrow. What changed is the meaning I assigned to that history. For years, I treated my past as a verdict. Now I can treat it as context. I cannot return to 18 and choose differently. But I do not have to let the choices I made at 18 keep choosing for me at 42. I cannot recover the years I lost, but I can decide what happens to the years ahead. Going back to school has already changed my life, because it changed me from someone waiting to someone building. Whether I complete the engineering degree and begin the career is still an open question. My story is still being written.